so naturally I have two different classes going on. I got 14.1 sitting there. I got 9.2 sitting here. I'm going to start with the 9.2 lesson and just go through some of the different things there. And then I'll circle over to chapter 14. All right, here we go. Let's make it happen. Let me turn on the chat again, because I want to make sure that if you have a question, make sure that you just hit me in the chat, and then from the chat, we'll be able to go. Okay? All right, so let's just start back over. We had x minus 2 is equal to 4x plus 1. And since we had that, we can combine like terms. And when we combine like terms, remember, they are on the opposite side. There's an x on the right and x on the left. How do we combine them? One of the sides needs to go to 0, okay? So if I have x minus 2, 4x plus 1, I would make this x go to 0. That's the additive inverse right there. So 1 minus 1 is 0. So I get a negative 2 equals, what I do to one side, I must do to the other. So 4x minus x is 3x plus 1, okay? So with that being said, now I have all my variables in one spot. I can continue on. Step number 2, remove all what? Addition and subtraction from where? Near your variable. So I'm going to subtract. Why? Because there's a plus sign. So I subtract 1, subtract 1. Negative 2 minus 1 is what? Negative 3 is equal to what? 3x, okay? So with that being said, I can go to step 3. Step 3 says what? Hey, remove all multiplication division. So I'm going to divide. If I divide by 3, divide by 3. And now negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. So I get x is equal to 1. But that only tells half of the story. I need to do what with this x now? I need to substitute it into one of these y's. Doesn't matter which one. You can substitute it into any of them, okay? So now I'm going to take the first one, y equals 4x. Y equals 4x plus 1, okay? So x is equal to what? Right there, it says negative 1. Substitute it in. Y equals 4, parentheses, negative 1 plus 1. Okay? Now I have y equals negative 4 plus 1. Does that make sense? So y is equal to negative 3. If x is equal to negative 1, y is equal to negative 3, I can write it as a coordinate pair. I have negative 1 and negative 3. All right, so that is my answer to that question. Anybody have any questions? Write it in the chat. All right. So now, here's the second problem. It says y is equal to x minus 4 and y is equal to negative x plus 2. Now let's take this y and substitute it into the first one. It really doesn't matter how you do it. You're able to just sit there and substitute them in. So I'm going to substitute in negative x plus 2 is equal to x minus 4. Okay? So now, go through your 4 steps. Step number 1, simplify / combine like terms. Well, I have an x here, I have an x here, correct? So we're going to have to combine like terms. That they're on opposite sides. So one of them is going to have to go to what? 0, okay? So let's see, which one are we going to make go to 0? Well, I always like to make sure that I'm positive. So I'm going to make this one go to 0. So I use the additive inverse. Negative x plus x is going to go to what? 0. So now just bring down the 2. Bring down the, well, what I do to one side, I have to what? Do to the other. So this is a 1, this is a 1. 1 plus 1 is what? 2. So I get 2x. Bring down the negative 4. Okay. Now I have all my variables in one spot. I can go to step 2, remove all addition, subtraction. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add. Add 4, add 4, because what I do to one side, I must do to the other. 2 and 4 is 6. Bring down the 2. Negative 4 plus 4, 0. Step 3, remove all multiplication and division from where? Near your variable. So I'm going to what? Divide. So I divide by 2, divide by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is what? 3. So I get x is equal to 3. Am I done there? No, I only know what x is equal to. So I need to go back up to the top and substitute x into one of these equations, okay? So here we go. I get y equals x minus 4. That's the first one. So let's substitute that in. I get y equals parentheses 3, because it says it right there. X is equal to 3, so I put it in. So now y equals 3 minus 4, so y is equal to what? Negative 1. If x is 3 and y is negative 1, then that means 3, comma, negative 1 is my answer. That is where both of those lines intersect if I graph them. That's where both of those lines are true when I solve them, okay? Anybody have any questions on those two problems for 9.2? Write it in the chat. All right, nobody answered, so we're good to go on that. All righty, so here we go. Let's talk about a word problem, because you're going to have to deal with word problems. You're going to have to deal with some higher level thinking, okay? So a woman's age is 3 years more than twice her son's age. Well, let's deal with this. There's a woman, there's a son. They're talking about their ages. So let's say the age of the woman is X, the age of the son is Y. They can't be both X and they both can't be Y. They're different variables. Variables take the place of what we don't know, okay? So it says the woman's age is. The word is makes you have an equal sign. 3 years more. What's 3 years more? More is 3 plus. So that's how we're breaking it down. It says twice her son's age. So 2 times whatever the age of the son is. Now, hopefully I was able to break that down and read it to you in such a way that you're like, oh, that was easy. Okay. So now you have 2 unknowns. You can't solve an equation with 2 unknowns. They give you another sentence. It says the sum, which means what? Addition of their ages. Well, the woman's age is represented by what? X. The son's age is represented by what? Y. The sum of their ages is. This word is an equal sign. And what is that equal to? 84. And that's how we get our 2 equations. Does that make sense? Anybody need any explaining how I broke down that word problem? Nope. Okay. All right. So here we go. We need to solve it. We're going to use what? Substitution. Well, I know what x is equal to. It's equal to this 3 plus 2y. Since x is equal to this 3 plus 2y, then I am able to do what? Instead of writing an x, I'm going to write 3 plus 2y. Plus y is equal to 84. What did I do? I just substituted into this x. Okay. Now, what am I going to do? I am going to solve for y. Notice I have 2 circles, so I know I'm going to combine like terms, but first let's check simplify. Anything to do? Is there PEMDAS? Is there distributing? Is there remove fractions? Or is there factoring? No. Yes, there's these parentheses, but the parentheses really aren't doing anything. So I have 3 plus 2y plus y is equal to 84. So the first thing I'm going to do is combine like terms. Notice that they're on the same side. And I write the same and opposite side so you understand what you have to do in those situations because they're a little bit different, okay? So here we go. If I combine these 2, I get 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 3 is equal to what? 84. Step 2, what am I going to do? Remove addition, subtraction. So I'm going to subtract. Subtract the 3, subtract the 3. I get 3y is equal to what? 81. Now what do I do? Step 3, I'm going to divide. Divide by what? 3. Y is equal to what? 3 goes into 8 how many times? 2. How many is left over? 2. So I get 21. 3 goes into 21 how many times? 7. Let's make sure you understand that. So 3, 81, 2, 6. That's 2 left over. Bring down the 1, 7. And now I get minus 21. And that's equal to 0. So that's the math of it right there. But now I know that y is equal to 27. Am I done? No. What does that represent? Well, y was whose age? It was the son. So the son I know is what? 27 years old. Now I need to know what the mom's age is. Well, we know right here that if we add them up, we'll get 84. 84 years. So let's put it in. X plus, instead of y, I'm going to put 27. And when I add up both of their ages, they're going to add up to 84 years. So here we go. Step 1. Anything to do? No. Step 2. Anything to do? Yes. We're going to subtract. Subtract what? 27. So I subtract 27. I get x equals 84 minus 27. There we go. Carry that. 14. That's going to be 7. This is now 7. 7 minus 2 is what? 5. So the mother's age, x equals, the mother was the variable x. We had set that at the beginning, right? So the mother's age is 57. Mom is what? 57 years old, living her best life. The son is what? 27 years old. He should be out of the house by now, okay? Anybody have any questions? Yes, no? Write in the chat. Everybody's good? Okay. All right. So let's go to this word problem. Ephraim worked 40 hours at his 2 jobs last week. So we have job 1, job 2. Okay. He earned $20 per hour. As soon as you see per hour, you know you're multiplying something because it's a change. Okay. There's $20 every hour. It's going to continue to change. Okay. So now, $20 per hour at his weekday job. So let's say this is the weekday job and this is the weekend. Okay. So $20, and we need to multiply that by some hour. I don't know how many hours he works on his weekday job. And then it's $18 for his weekend job, and we need to multiply it by some hours. Now, the reason why I didn't put X again is because what he works on the weekdays versus what he works on the weekend are totally 2 different things. So we can't sit there and automatically just put X and X, but they're both unknown. We do not know how many hours he worked during the weekday or during the weekend. Okay. Now look at this. He earned how much? $777. So we're talking about money on this line, correct? So if we're talking about the money, if I add up the weekday job plus his weekend job, how much money should he have? $770. Does that make sense? Okay. So now they're asking me, how many hours did he work? Well, we know he worked so many hours, X, during the weekday. He worked so many hours, Y, during the weekend, correct? And how many hours did he work total? 40. So here we're talking about his hours. And now we have 2 different equations. I have 2 unknowns, 2 different equations. I can now solve them, okay? So we're going to use substitution. So we need to solve for one of these. There, X is in the loan, Y is in the loan. We need to figure it out. Now, if you looked at the videos, I always tell you to solve for Y. Why? Because that puts us in what format? Slope-intercept format. So here we go. If I solve for Y, first step, anything to do? No. Second step, anything to do? Yes, we need to subtract. Subtract what? This X. That is the additive inverse of that. So now x minus x, 0. That leaves me with y equals 40 minus x. Y is all alone. Now, I am going to convert this real quick because the commutative property, I'm able to sit there and say negative x plus 40 because that is slope-intercept form strict, correct? What am I going to do with this y? I need to substitute it in to this first equation, okay? So with that being said, I am going to do this. 20x plus 18. And instead of writing y, I'm going to write what y is equal to. Negative x plus 40. And that is going to equal 770. Okay? All right. So here we go. Now my life is easy because I have all my variable. I only have one variable. I have one there. I have one there. So I know I'm going to have to combine like terms. But let's first make sure that we do it right. So simplify / combine like terms. Anything to do? Yes. We need to distribute. So we distribute here, distribute here. So anything happen to the 20x? No. So 20x plus 18 times negative x. That's negative 18x. And then 18 times 40. You go, oh my goodness, Miss Harris, what are you doing to me? Well, here's 40. Here's 18. Believe it or not, you could do it that way. But since 40 has a 0 in it, I'm going to switch them. I put 40 on the bottom. Because why? 0 times anything is what? 0. 4 times 8 is what? 32. 4 times 1 is 4. You carried that 3, right? So 4 times 1 is 4 plus 3 is 720, correct? So we put plus 720 is equal to 770. Are we good on that? All right, so now, let me get this out the way real quick. Now, second step. Or are we on the second step? No. Why? Because you still need to do what? Combine like terms. Good job. Way to catch it. So there's the x. We want to combine like terms. 20x minus 18x is really what? 2x plus 720 is equal to 770. Step number 2 is what? We want to subtract. Subtract what? This 720. Why? Because we need to remove all addition subtraction. So bring down the 2x. 720 minus 720, 0. 770 minus 720 is what? 50. Does that make sense? Okay. Step 3 is what? We are going to divide. Divide by what? 2. So when I divide by 2, I get x is equal to 25. So I know x is equal to 25. So what does x represent? X represents what? How many hours he's working in his weekday job. So what do I have to find now? How many hours he works on his weekend job. Well, instead of putting it back in here, I'm going to put it in this one because this one already says y equals, right? So here we go. Y equals negative, what's x equal to? 25 plus 40. So now this is nothing more than PEMDAS, correct, for the first step. I have opposite signs, so I'm going to subtract them. Always put the bigger number on top, smaller number on the bottom, subtract them. 40 minus 25. Borrow the 1, I get 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. Keep the sign of the bigger number. So y is equal to a positive 15. X is equal to 25. So his weekend job, he worked how many hours? 15. His weekday job, he worked 25 hours. Does that make sense? And naturally they would cross out. I can put it in there, which is 25, 15. Write in the chat if you have any questions. Ask questions if you don't get it. Is that what the Zoom class is for? Yes. Aiden, ask questions if you don't get it. Henry says, good, good. I get it. I don't know what the other sign is. Whatever. All right. So we're good there. All right. So chapter 14. Okay. Let's make sure that I don't electrocute myself. All right. So chapter 14 talks about what? Understanding polynomials. Okay. So identify each expression as a monomial, binomial, trinomial. What does that mean? This means one, mono. Bi means what? Two. Tri means what? Three. Or none of the above. Write the degree of each expression. So remember, we always write what? The degree first. And then after the degree, we write how many terms. And these are considered the terms, okay? This is telling me how many terms I have. All right, so here we go. I have 6b squared minus 7. So what is the degree? When I look at the degree, I'm always trying to make sure that I look at the variables and what is the highest degree. So there's no variables over here with the 7. There's a b here and it's squared. So I know I am second degree. Now, you should be able to see this. How many terms are there? Terms are separated by what? Plus or minus signs. I only have one of them. So I know I have two different terms. So therefore it is a binomial. So there we go. Binomial right there. Okay. Then after that, let's look at the second one. I have x squared y minus 9x to the fourth y squared plus 3xy. Okay, so again, always do the highest degree first. So this x has a squared. This one has a what? Power of 1. This one, if I add those two together, I get 3, because that's what I want to see for that term. Here I have 4. Here I have 2. Add those together, I get 6. Here I have 1. Here I have 1. Add those together, and I get 2. So which one is the highest one? 6. So I have a 6 degree. And what is the count for my terms? Well, I have a minus sign here. I have a plus sign here. I have 1, 2, 3 terms. 3 terms is called what? Tri. So trinomial. Pretty simple and pretty straightforward. That's how you sit there and write monomial, binomial, trinomial, what degree it is as we go. Aiden, I am with to ask. I was telling Phil that why are we, there's no reason. Good, good, good. Okay. Anybody have any questions? I'm looking at the chat for your questions. Just write it out. You can sit there. You don't have to say what your question is. Just say, go back to question number 2 or question number 3, and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. Okay? Cool. All right. There we go. So here we go. Simplify each expression. I want to be able to simplify this expression, okay? Now, we are going to do something called what? Combine like terms. What is very important about combining like terms? The variable needs to be the same and the power. Does that make sense? Did I say anything about the coefficients? No. So it's the variable and the power has to be the same. And remember, when we combine like terms right now, we are adding or subtracting them. So the variable is not going to change and the power is not going to change. We're just going to add or subtract the coefficients. So here we go. Here is n to a power of 3. I look at the other terms. How many terms do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 terms, but none of them have an n to the 3. So this is all by itself, 6n cubed. Now I look at what? Squared. Okay, there's a squared. Oh, here's another squared. What is this coefficient? -1. What is this coefficient? +5. When I combine them, it says -1 plus 5. So that's really 5 minus 1, which is a +4. Keep the variable, keep the power. Okay, so now I look here, I have n to the fourth. There's nobody with an n to the fourth, so I put plus n to the fourth. Now remember, whenever you are writing polynomials, what goes first? That's right, the highest power. So here's the highest power, 3n to the fourth. What's the next highest power? The 3. So plus 6n to the third. And what's the next one? Plus 4n squared. Now, why can't I combine them? Because of what we just said. N to the fourth, n to the third, n to the second, they're in the same n family. But remember, second cousin, third cousin, fourth cousin, they're different extended family members. They're not in the immediate family. Okay? All right. So what about this one? Let's go through it. Here's c to the third. Here's c to the third. So I can combine those two. It looks like this. 1 c to the third minus 3 c to the third. If I combine those, I get what? 1 minus 3, which is 3 minus 1, which is 2, but keep the sign of the bigger number. So I get -2. Do I do anything with that c to the third? No, just keep it because you're adding and subtracting, okay? It says, wait, how did you get 4n squared if it was 1n squared? 4n squared. Okay, cool. Let's go back because I see the question. We combined like terms here and here, here and here. So here's a squared, here's a squared, and that is the reason why I'm able to combine them, okay? So this is negative. It didn't have anything there, but what's understood to be in front of it? A 1. So it's -1. So -1 plus 5. What is that really saying? 5 minus 1, 4. Keep the sign of the bigger number. +4. Okay? Does that answer your question? Those are the only two that really got combined, okay? All right, there you go. Cool. So let's come back over here. All right, so and that's why I'm showing you like this with the parentheses. I'm combining them and it gets me something, okay? So now here's c squared, c squared. So what's the coefficient? A +1. What's this coefficient? A -1. Now, when I add them up, 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 times c squared will always be what? 0. Done. It eliminated itself. Okay? Here's c. What's the power? 1. If there is no power written, it's an understood 1. Here's c to a power of what? 1. So coefficient is 2. So I get 2c minus 4c. Okay? So now 2 minus 4 really says what? 4 minus 2, and I get 2. Keep the power of the bigger number. So that's -2. So here we go. -2. And what do I do with the c's? I just write it. I do not change it because we're adding and subtracting. So -2c to the third minus 2c. And that's how you combine like terms. Okay? Good on that. Any questions? Write them down. No questions? Okay. All right. Cool. So let me shrink this because I don't want to mess up down here later on. I want to move this. We'll move this down. That way we have some room. Okay? Cool. All right. There we go. All right. So let's start here. It says determine the polynomial that has the greater value for the given value of x. So all we're going to do is what? This word called evaluate. What does that mean? Solve. Okay? That's all that means. So here's one polynomial in the red. Here's the second polynomial in the green. And I'm going to substitute what in? X is equal to 6. So whenever I substitute, what do I use? Yes, parentheses. So 4, 6 squared minus 5, parentheses, 6 minus 2. All of this is PEMDAS because they're all constants, okay? So PEMDAS was first. Parentheses, anything? No. Well, there's parentheses there, but nothing inside to do. What's next? Exponents. So I need to do 6 times 6, which is 36. That is what 6 squared means. All right? So 4 times 36 minus, what's 5 times 6? 30 minus 2. Does that make sense? So here we go. Next one, multiplication. 36 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus the 2 is 144. So I get 144 minus 30 minus 2. Now I'm there for addition, subtraction. They're both on the same level, so I'm able to just subtract 144 minus 30. 4 minus 0, 4. 4 minus 3, 1. 114. So I get 114 minus 2. And 114 minus 2 is 112. So the answer for the first one is 112, okay? So here's our little side work right there. Okay, so I'll put that in a nice little box so later on people won't think that it's the actual answers. Okay, and now we're going to do what? The green. So whenever we substitute in, what do we use? Parentheses. So 5 parentheses 6 squared minus 2 parentheses 6 minus 4. Again, PEMDAS. So here we go. 6 squared is nothing more than 6 times 6, which is 36. So I get 5 times 36 minus 2 times 6 is 12 minus 4. So I get 36 times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. 3 times 5 is 15, plus the 3 is 8. So I get 180 minus 12 minus 4. 180 minus 12 is equal to, borrow the 1. So 10 minus 2 is 8. This is 7. 7 minus 1 is what? 6. So I get 168 minus 4. If I subtract 4, I get 164. That is my answer there. So I just look at them. 112 is what? It's less than 164. So therefore, this one is the greater value. Does that make sense? Straightforward, pretty easy to do. And then we have 14. So right here, I have 6. I'm going to substitute what in? 3. So 3 cubed minus 4, 3, put it in there, squared, plus 7. PEMDAS again. So this is 3 squared, which is 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is what? 27. So I get 6 times 27 minus, what's 3 squared? 9. So 4 times 9 plus 7. So now I get 27 times 6. So what is 7 times 6? Yes, 2. So I get 6 times 2, 12 plus 4, 162. Then 9 times 4 is what? 36. So that's negative 36 plus 7. 162 minus 36. Borrow the 1. 12 minus 6 is 6. This is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. So I get 126 plus 7. 126 plus 7 is 135. So that is my answer there. Again, I'm going to box this so we know that this is our work. And now we got to substitute in for the other problem. Okay, so here we go. We have 7, plug in 3 cubed minus 6, 3 squared plus 4. Okay, all I did was substitute 3 in for my x. Okay, now 3 cubed is what? 3 times 3 times 3, which we said was 9 times 3, which is equal to what? 27. So 7 times 27 minus 3 squared is what? 9. So 6 times 9 plus 4. Now what? 7 times 27. 7 and 7 is 9. 2 and 7 is what? 14. So this was a 4. So this is 189. Right there. And 6 and 9 get you what? Yes. Right there. Then we're able to do what? Plus 4. So 189 minus 54. 9 minus 4 is what? 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. Get 1. So 135 plus 4 is what? 139. Now I look at both of them. Look at that, real close, but this is still less than the 139. So 139 is greater. Any questions on that? Good. So that's our lesson. What I'm going to do right now, let me see if I can open this up. Here we go. I've unmuted all of you. So if you have questions, let's go through them. But once somebody starts talking and identify them, then please allow them to talk so we can answer those questions. Okay? Turn down all music. Turn down all.
Sorry, that's my mom's phone ringing.
All right.
Okay.
So talk to me. What do we need?
No, I said be quiet.
Are there any questions?
Yo.
If we have no questions, I'm going to get off. I'm going to post this video to the website, and that way they can review it. So are there any questions?
Aiden has a question.
Talk to me.
You can't. Okay.
Aiden.
He's muted, Mr. Harris.
He's muted. Unmute all.
Okay. Hello. Yeah. So I was asking for period 2. Do we have to do the homework for 9.1?
No. So let's get through that. I'll show you this. You told me I need to reset you. If I go.
Well, no, I logged in to the whatchamacallit, the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out, but because you had it for us you had 9.1 for homework for us, but then I think it was Emily. She told me that the questions that were at the end of your videos were the same that were on the book homework.
Kind of. If I go here, you're in my algebra 2, so you should have the review. The first one was the review, so it was 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Today is 14.1.
Okay.
So there's a couple of different things there. So if I'm looking, let's edit a class, or let's look at a class roster. In here, I can look at algebra 2.
Okay.
And these are all my algebra 2 kids.
Yeah, but I don't see 9.1 for our assignment. So does that mean just don't worry about it?
No, you didn't. For Monday, you didn't have an assignment except for to do the problems off of the video. and there
Okay.
was nothing to turn in.
For
So
extended
today
period.
you should see 14.1 and all the other ones.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? That's it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, obviously I've already opened up all the homework. I am not getting a huge participation in homework. And this is kind of true for what happened during class. So I can teach all I want, but you need to be able to sit there and actually do the problems. You have to do the problems, because if you don't, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Math is not one of those subjects where you can sit there, listen to a lecture, and be good. Okay?
Sorry.
You keep getting muted.
Aiden,
How to do it.
Hold on for a second. Let me unmute you again. Everybody's.
I don't know. It keeps muting me every time I mute myself, so you don't hear my mother and my sister talking.
Well, it's supposed to.
I know, but it like won't let me unmute myself again.
Okay, yeah, because only I have control of that.
Mr. Harris.
All right.
Diego has a question.
Diego, what's up?
Hey, what up, Mr. Harris? I have a question. How are we gonna know our grade, the grades we got on our assignments or the
Look on Pinnacle.
Go on Pinnacle? Okay.
Yeah, and HMH
So it's working?
at the end on Friday will show you. So there's two things that are happening. HMH, I put it so where once you do it, it grades the first one, and then it will show you answers and what you got on it Friday. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All the school charts.
All right.
Hello.
I mean, that was pretty good. We did it in
After strike school.
about 45 minutes, even
I
with
like
the
that one.
disruption at the beginning of this class. Does anybody know who that person is?
No.
Because
There's some, Mr. Harris, there's supposed to be a way that you could like before we join, we all go into a waiting room, and you like allow us in here.
I can do that. This Mike Latoris, which we understand what they're trying to do.
Oh.
with
Fake
that
name.
word. But
They had a different name before
Stop
that.
biting your nails.
They had a different name. It was Mike, and then it said it started with the R for their last name, and then they changed it.
Cameron, that does not sound like work.
all right,
There was one yesterday that was an abortion.
okay. So it is what it is. I think
Hello?
that was pretty good that we were able to get a hold of that pretty quickly. So we were able to continue on. I probably will do the waiting room, but I'll allow everybody to join at least 30 minutes early. That way you won't be late, because once we get going, I'm not going to let people in, because I realize that if they join,
He's cutting out.
then it just
No.
they have all the.
When
will we meet again?
What's up?
He's frozen. Man's just frozen.
Bro, I gotta switch to algebra 2.
Nah, everybody's on the go.
For
Kind
one
of
right now because all of us are behind.
Yeah. So algebra 2 is gonna
That's tough.
jump pretty ahead pretty quick. So
This man is frozen.
who?
Oh, is that Henry?
Why is he in this class? Tell me why.
Who, Henry?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking across the board.
I don't know.
I want to focus on the math. Is there any questions on the math?
I'm smart. Smart.
Good.
Mr. Harris, we have no idea what you just said. You were frozen for a good 2 minutes.
All right. So can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I want to make sure that everybody has what they need. If you have anything when it comes to questions or whatever, definitely email me. I need more participation. Expect calls to go out. If you are on this chat right now, which I'm able to see everybody here, I probably will not call your parent because you are actively involved, but make sure that you filled out the contact form on the website. Fill out that contact form, and that way I have the updated contact information for you and your parents, okay? And then we'll be able to go from there. Are there any more questions math related?
Why does Jim
Nope.
look like he's in a hospital bed?
It's pretty good because we were able to sit there and get this done in 50 minutes, and that's both classes. So this is the way that it will run. I'll be able to sit there and, keep having these problems up there. And then next week will be our work week, which is
This is Dr.
literally
Morgan.
just problem after problem after problem, and not the easy ones. Okay?
Fine.
All right. Y'all have a good one. Be
You
blessed.
too.
Be safe.